Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today. We'll just get started in just a minute while a few people are joining. So what we are going to cover today is kind of this, after you gone live, what are some things to look out for, to do to either improve your workflows in Katana, to run your operations with confidence, and how to actually trust your data. But since we still have a few people still trickling in, I am going to launch a poll, what I will be doing throughout this webinar, but no worries, not too many, just three. So bear with us, but this is just to understand better where you currently are, how confident are you feeling running your operations in Katana. So helping us both out, especially Logan here today to emphasize maybe some specific things while demoing. So I can already see that we have people being mostly confident, just a few things still tripping them up. So that is definitely exactly what this session is designed for. And we're going to cover areas where customers might hit friction after they have been live for a while. Costing, inventory accuracy integrations, and some productivity tips. So a few things in terms of housekeeping. As mentioned, we have polls throughout this webinar. We have a dedicated time for Q&A. So anytime you have any questions, then please drop them in the Q&A box that you should be able to see on your Zoom screen. And if you have any questions, just to kind of keep the pace of this live training, then instead of raising hands, if you can please write your question out or your comment out in the Q&A. And this webinar is recorded, so no worries if you have to drop off at one point or want to go over it later. We will be sending the recording to you. Alrighty, then what we are going to cover today, we have costing and COGS, integrations, how to make sure your inventory is accurate, how to avoid negative stock, how to do stock adjustments, etc. Some bulk actions, which will save you some time, so you can stop doing things one by one, and a few tips in terms of how to enhance your workflows and your operations, so you can work a bit smarter in Katana. So, but before jumping into the session, let's do a quick intro to who are your hosts today. If you're wondering, my name is not Katana Marketing. I'm Laura from product marketing team here in Katana. I'll be trying to do my best moderating and this session and managing the Q&A queue. And with me, I have Logan Jones, our senior solutions engineer, who will be leading the main content delivery and the live demo today. So live demo being the main emphasis, we're just gonna cover a few basics beforehand. Logan, do you want to say a quick hello?
Hi, everyone. My name's Logan. As Laura mentioned, Laura's amazing too. Just want to shout that out. But I'm on the solutions engineering team at Katana here. I've been on the implementation team and the customer success team as well. And while my role has changed over the years, a lot of the questions and scenarios that I've run into kind of remain the same. So I wanted to make sure we cover a couple different topics today that might help you, your company, or just be something cool that you learned today that you didn't know you could do in Katana.
Yeah, and when we were prepping for this session, I did while being in Katana for over 5 years, learned something new. So hope you will too. Thank you, Logan. And before Logan takes it over, then I'm not going to launch a poll, but I will ask you to just give us a bit kind of input on what would help you get even more out of Katana. Is it maybe understanding your COGS better or integrations, reporting, something completely different? So you can use the Q&A panel that you should be able to see and just write a couple of words. One sentence is completely enough so that you can get your hands warm and get used to using the Q&A that we really hope you will do throughout the webinar. So I will hand it over to Logan. So please, again, give us a few insights on what would help you get even more out of Katana in the meantime. Alrighty. Take it away, Logan. I can already see that there's a comment around integrating into QBO, and I know that you have some tips and tricks there, so definitely gonna cover this one. But keep them coming and ask all your questions away. I'll then now be quiet and take it away, Logan.
Perfect. So I'm just going to go through a couple different things. Laura, did you mind sharing that the next slide about why costs change, if you don't mind? Perfect. Awesome. So probably the number one question that I get on a lot of meetings is, why does my cost keep changing? Or why is my cost this? Or why is it in a negative? Why is it wrong, basically? The one thing I always try to stress and I encourage you to keep in mind is that Katana uses that moving average cost. And with that, that means is every movement that brings an item into stock is going to impact that average cost. So there are certain things that'll impact it. So keep in mind, receiving in a PO, stock adjustment, stock transfer, manufacturing order, outsource purchase order. Those are all things that are going to impact your moving average cost. So when you're looking at an item and it's maybe zero cost or a negative cost or something's wrong, generally that usually stems from what I see. The most common is a purchase order without a price per unit associated with your line items, and then you've received it. So basically, I've received in 200 units for free, so my cost is going to be zero. Or I'm doing a stock adjustment, either it's that initial inventory upload or a stock adjustment down the line, and I forgot to add a cost when I'm adding in a quantity. So just if I could burn one thing into your brain, it's if I'm adding inventory into Katana, I need to make sure that inventory has a cost. And it's not just on the item level, like an individual item level. You have to understand, because if you're doing any manufacturing flows, that rolls into your finished good as well. So for example, I create a purchase order for a raw material, receiving the raw material at $0, create a manufacturing order. Well, my material cost is now zero as well. So that'll roll into my finished good. My finished good cost might be zero, or if I have some operational costs, those will roll in. But you just have to be mindful that because it's that moving average, all those movements that roll into your finished good are going to impact that costing section there. Now, the second question is, okay, this looks wrong, but so how do I fix it? So there's a couple different ways to fix them. I'm going to go over this more detail in that demo section here. But generally, the quickest way to fix your cost and to get it back to what it should be is you essentially bring your inventory back to zero, because that resets your average cost. And then you're going to do another adjustment that brings it to the true quantity with the true cost. And then moving forward, everything will have an accurate cost and roll through. There's also a way to retroactively fix things, but again, I'll go through that in the demo because it's a bit more intricate. How do I find these errors? Quickest way, in my opinion, is in the stock screen. You'll see your in-stock number, and then there's an average cost beside that. If I have an in-stock number and a Xero average cost, probably something's not right there. And then what I can do is I can click on any of the values in the stock screen. It'll pull up the inventory intel panel, which I'll also demo later on. And what that's going to do is it's going to show you all the movements that brought the item in and out of stock, as well as the cost. So you could see that average cost move over time, or if it wasn't truly there. Another quick way to find it is going into your sales screen under the Done tab, and then you'll see all your finished sales orders with the COGS associated. And it's a really good way to quickly see any outliers through there as well. Awesome. And then the next step is like, I've set up my account, I got all my items configured, I have my inventory in. I've been manually inputting orders either, just through the quick create button or through the sell screen. I'm just manually adding them in. How do I take this workflow to the next level and, take out a lot of this manual work off my plate? So Katana has quite a few native integrations already. Just going to plug that we launched our native Amazon FBA integration the other day, which we're all very excited about. You can try that now. It's in our integrations tab. So if you did want to give that a run, but I'm just going to primarily focus on the Shopify one just to give some specific examples. So I'm running with Shopify. I don't have Shopify connected, but once you do connect Shopify, what you can do is have your sales orders flowing in real time. We could do a two-way fulfillment sync, so I can close out my orders in Katana or in Shopify, and those will mirror back to each other. I can do an inventory sync from Katana to Shopify, because Katana is always going to be my source of truth. And just doing that alone will cut down potentially hours of manual work that needs to be done. Then we have accounting integrations as well. So native accounting integrations being QuickBooks and Xero. With our QuickBooks integration, you can have automatic COGS roll through, and you can also automatically invoice e-commerce orders as well. And with both the QuickBooks and Xero integration, what I can do is I can create bills from my purchase orders, and I can create invoices off my sales orders. So this also ensures you don't have to do quite a bit more manual work on those sides, because we'll create them for you with the integration. Then you have things like third-party connectors such as Make or Zapier or Extensive that allows you to connect Katana to pretty much everything that you want to. And then we also have the API available where you can, again, connect to a lot of different tools, but also you can use the API to take your workflow to the next level. And what I mean by that is, I'm sure everybody's using some sort of LLM right now. I could be Claude, I could be an AI, we don't know. I'm a real person, but just to say, using LLMs now and using our API, you're able to create a lot more custom integrations and custom workflows out of the box. With that being said, I could create like a sales order to purchase order workflow right with Make, or just using the API and building a Chrome extension that can handle those workflows. So just also want you to keep in mind that you do have access to the API. That API can enable you to do a lot of cool things that you can't do. Like a human can only click so fast and can only do so many things in the interface. When you bring the robot into the picture, it can do a lot more. That being said, anytime you bring in an AI or an automation into your workflow, always great to test it first, make sure nothing's slipping through the gaps, and then fine tuning as you go. Another thing I just want to point out too is some common post-live issues with integrations. So primarily a lot of our native integrations use SKU matching. So maybe you found that the inventory isn't going to be pushed, your inventory is not pushing over to Shopify, or a line item isn't mapping to a sales order correctly, things like that. Generally, it's due to a SKU mismatch. Super easy fix. It might just be as simple as there's a space somewhere in between, but all you have to do is tidy that up, ensure the SKUs align, and everything should be syncing correctly. Another big one that comes into play is maybe there's a COGS mismatch between QuickBooks and Katana. So what Katana does is, as soon as the sales order is marked as delivered, then we create a journal entry for the COGS to roll through. And that captures the COGS at that point of time when the sales order is marked as delivered, creates that journal entry. If I retroactively fix some things in my Katana account that impact my COGS, like I said, maybe I caught that I didn't put a purchase price on that old PO, shipped out that sales order, and my COGS were zero. Created that wrong journal entry, but then I went back and I fixed that PO, so it did have a cost. My sales order in Katana now shows a COGS, but my COGS entry in QuickBooks is different. Katana is not gonna push that new COGS over. You're gonna have to go and manually update that as well. And another one is maybe not configuring sync settings. So generally, when you're getting up and running with Katana, you don't want to turn on a lot of syncing things because maybe your inventory is not correct yet. You don't have your full catalog in the system, things like that. So just making sure after you've configured everything, connected your integration, that those sync settings are turned on because they will save you a lot of time if you want to use them. And that's, again, that fulfillment sync, the inventory sync, bringing sales orders in, things like that. So those are just some common things to be mindful of. The biggest thing is the SKU. Awesome. And then when we talk about kind of inventory accuracy, there's more or less three statuses that you have to be mindful of. First one is your in stock, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's the quantity that you currently have in stock. And then we have commitments. So this is where the item is on an open either manufacturing order, sales order, outsourced purchase order, stock transfer. Those can all create commitments for an item. Some integrations, specifically Shopify, use your in-stock number minus your committed number to push that inventory level across. So it's really important that you understand the logic of the inventory number that's being sent over to that integration and what these statuses mean so that you have a good understanding of what your inventory number is going to look like in that integration as well. Then we also have expected, and that's what's expected to come into your inventory. It could be from a manufacturing order, outsourced purchase order, stock transfer, or an MO as well. So one other thing I want to talk about here is we have stock adjustments. Question I get asked pretty often is, when do I do a stock adjustment versus a stock take? So the way I look at it is if I need to quickly adjust my inventory, it's going to be a stock adjustment. I walked through my warehouse, I dropped 5 pieces on the ground, I broke every single one of them. I'm going to create a quick stock adjustment in Katana to decrement those 5 units out of my inventory. And I can put a reason in that stock adjustment as well, so I have some traceability there. Maybe it's, Logan's clumsy, dropped 5 units. Oops. At least the history is in there. The 5 units are removed from your inventory. They can't be sold. Same could be as, I want to fix that average cost or I want to fix my negative inventory. That's going to be a quick stock adjustment generally. When I would use a stock take is when you're actually doing your cycle counts. And that's when you're either shutting down operations or slowing down operations because Katana is still going to run when that stock take is running, meaning orders would still flow through and things like that. So the stock take function is when you're actually going through your warehouse and doing those proper cycle counts. Last but not least, negative inventory. It comes up. It's a thing. It's not a bug. It is a feature. It means that Katana is working properly. It's indicating that there's generally maybe an error in the workflow or something needs to be adjusted. Everything can be fixed. It's totally fine. Generally, when I see negative inventory, it's because I've delivered a sales order, I've completed a manufacturing order. Basically, I've done a movement before that item was in stock. So it's a quick fix, really simple, nothing to stress about, but it is something to be mindful of. Awesome. And then we'll also cover some like bulk actions, things that you can do in the system. So within the various screens of Katana, your stock screen, sell screen, make, buy, there's a lot of bulk actions if you select the checkboxes, which again, I'm going to showcase that too and walk through them with you. But it's a way to kind of speed up your workflow. Specifically, when you have an accounting integration connected, I can create invoices in bulk instead of going one by one, create my invoice, create my invoice. I can just select one, hold down shift, grabs everything in between, and bulk create all my invoices or bulk create all my bills. So it's very helpful that way. We also have import templates. that are located under settings, data import. And what those are for is you can update your products, materials, your bombs, and your operations, and a couple other items too in bulk in the system. Why would I want to update all my items in bulk? I've already configured them into Katana. Well, maybe I'm working in Katana. I realize the categories I have set up are confusing, or I want to filter them a bit better as well. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to go download my update template. Maybe I'm going to change my categories in bulk. Maybe, I was just setting up Katana bare bones and I didn't put the fine details in. I didn't put in a default purchase price. Maybe I didn't put a lead time or a safety stock level, which is a reorder point. You can use those templates to add all that in bulk or update it in bulk. Same, why would I want to update my recipes in bulk? I've already put my recipes in the system. Well, maybe I want to change my workflow up a bit and introduce a sub-assembly into my workflow. So all these templates make things easier for you. You don't have to click into an item one by one and click into a tab one by one and change things. Do it in Vulkan Excel, upload it back into Katana, and you can continue working. So it's a lot easier. Another reason why people would use the template to use for a bulk change is sometimes maybe I want to archive or delete a bunch of things in bulk. As you know, maybe going through that item screen can be a bit tedious, especially if I have thousands or 50,000 products or something like that. What I generally recommend is grabbing those update templates, giving those items a specific category of archive or delete. Then on the item screen, I just filter by that category, click the archive button or the delete button, and they're all gone. So it makes things a lot easier. All right. And then just a couple different ways that you can kind of take advantage and get more use out of Katana. So we just introduced something called the community solutions, where it's either, employees of Katana, customers of Katana, partners of Katana, people who want to make Katana better. Essentially, they're creating custom apps, custom integrations, workflows with Make, things like that, and they're sharing it with the community. We're going to share that link with you after this webinar as well, so you can access it, but a lot of great resources there and kind of free tools and tools that you can use. If you need extra help outside of this, we have a great knowledge base. I go on that knowledge base every single day. We have a really great training video library as well. And then if you have a CSM, you can always book a call with your CSM, or you can use the in-app chat bubble as well. You got a really great team waiting to help you. You might even get me on the chat as well. So might see you there. Then, if you want to take a look at all your data in the system, we have an Insights tab within Katana. It's going to give you a lot of information relative to the different section of Katana that you're looking at the insights of. We have insights for sales, purchasing, and manufacturing. At the bottom of all of these insight pages, there's a really great report that you can download either as a CSV, an Excel, or a PNG. And then we also have the inventory intel panel, as mentioned, when you're on the stock screen, where you can see all that history for your items, in and out movements, and things like that. Last thing is we have some keyboard shortcuts as well. Command K will bring you into like a quick create, find, navigation section in Katana. And then when you're in a specific spot where you can do scanning, like the PO section, for example, you can hit Command B to activate some barcode scanning. Then we also have quick add and some bulk action buttons within Katana as well. All right. I'm sure you're done listening to me talk about things and you probably want to see the things. So I am going to share my screen. We're going to pop into Katana. And the first thing I kind of want to walk through here is all the different bulk actions that you can do in them. So to start off with the sell screen, a lot of really cool features. So as soon as I hit one of these checkboxes here, you can see that bulk actions are up in the top corner. This is really helpful and handy. So as some of you might know, the sell screen uses a real-time planner, meaning that if I drag this to the top, it's going to allocate all my available sales items to the top ranking order. If I have thousands of orders, dragging and dropping isn't that feasible. So what I can actually do is I can select one, or I can bulk select, and I can hit this reorganize button, and I can move all my selected orders to the top of the screen, or I can move them all to the bottom, or I can specify what rank I actually just want to put them in there. So this is really handy. You can also create make to orders in bulk right from this section as well. And then, like I said, if you have an accounting integration connected, I can create all my invoices in bulk instead of going one by one, change to invoice. Although I do recommend speaking with your accountants before you do bulk invoices over to your accounting system. Hopefully there's no accountants on the call. Just kidding. And then, so you have the bulk options here. We also have a change status. So this is really helpful, especially if I'm using the warehouse app with pick pack functionality. If I want to send a bunch of sales orders over to the warehouse app in bulk, I can bulk select, change it to that packed status, and then it'll send them all over to the warehouse app in bulk. And then you'll see on the right-hand side, there's a couple different options as well. So I could export all of these selected orders. I can select whichever print templates I want that are relative for it. And then this one's really cool too. So there's this little pencil icon where I can actually change the ship to location in bulk on my orders as well. So really handy if you have multiple locations and you want to send them over to like an FBA location or something like that. You can do that in bulk on the screen as well. Something also really cool that you can do in Katana is this is relative to almost every page in Katana as well. What you're seeing on the screen is saved on your device. So I can actually configure these how I want them to look, all these different columns. If I want the delivery deadline to show up first, I can just drag and move it over. If I want that create date over here, I can again drag, move it over, or as you just saw, I can also make it disappear. So if delivery deadline isn't relevant to me, I can click on the column, and if I drag it up, it's completely removed from my view. I can basically customize these views to be relevant to only what I would like to see. And this isn't going to impact anybody else's Katana experience, unless you're sharing a computer. Maybe then you might want to chat through together. But if I accidentally removed the column and I needed it, you can always click on the three dots on the right-hand side to reset them, and it'll bring them back exactly how they were and bring back all those previous, like if you've removed a column, it'll bring it back as well. So really cool, really cool functionality with the columns. It's something that you can use to kind of make Katana your own, which I think is really handy. Then on the make side of things, I can select some checkboxes here. Again, make uses that real-time planner. If I have any MTO manufacturing orders, so make to order manufacturing orders on the sell screen, if I up their rank and put them higher in rank, it'll also move the associated manufacturing order up in rank as well. Something to keep in mind. So as you can see here, I clicked on the checkboxes for the manufacturing orders, and I get two options. One is deadline, so I can change my production deadlines in bulk for the relevant manufacturing orders. And I can also update their statuses from, not started to all completed in bulk as well. If you select your manufacturing orders and you're not seeing the deadline option, it's probably because you haven't toggled off the automatic configuration of deadlines. So if you click on this configure deadlines button up here, you'll see that I have this toggled off. If the automatic estimation is on, you cannot override the deadlines. You need to make sure this setting is off so that you're able to configure the deadlines on your own there. Awesome. On the buy side of things, what you can do here is you can bill in bulk, which is really handy. And then on the stock adjustment side, you can also create stock adjustments in bulk too. When we're looking at the stock screen, you can also do some bulk actions as well. So you can do some bulk buy, make, outsource, some stock transfers, stock takes. All those functions are available there. And then on the item side as well, we have bulk actions for items. So I can select a bunch here. They have the archive feature, delete feature. Again, we can print out some barcodes if we have that template set up. And I can also export all my existing recipes and operations from this view as well. This is really handy if I want to do an overhaul of my recipes and operations, because then I already have them in an Excel format. I can already use that as kind of a template and then use that to fit in any new either operations I want to add or any new recipe line items that I want to add, or just if you want it as a reference point. The other cool thing here is we have this pencil icon where you can bulk edit your category for items. the sales price, and the custom field collection as well. Now, also want to just point out that when we're looking at those bulk update templates, you can update the category and sales price in bulk with those templates as well. Custom field collection is going to be handled on the item level unless you're doing this pencil option here. And again, just to get to those bulk templates, you're going to click on your name top right corner, go into settings. You want to go down into data import. Your recipe template is up here, operations templates up here. And then again, all these update ones are near the bottom. So updating existing products, updating existing materials, and then this is to update your stock levels and stock values in bulk as well. And this template here, when you fill it out and import it back into Katana, it's going to create a stock adjustment found under the stock tab, stock adjustments. Awesome. So let's take a look at the stock screen while I'm here. And again, remember we talked about all these different columns and statuses here. So we have our in stock, we have our expected, we have our committed, but there's also a potential column here. And where the potential column is shown and is going to be as soon as you add an item that has the kit bundle functionality. And I'm just going to open up this item quick so you can take a look. But we have our product card here for this wonderful citrus drink, but it needs to have this kit and bundle checkbox toggled on. And again, you can do that in bulk with those update templates if you want to. And once that's toggled on, then you get this potential column. Essentially, when you're using kit bundles in Katana, you probably don't want to have anything that sits in stock. You want to just pull from components. So the potential stock level will show you potentially how many you can make based off of your component availability. Then we have our safety stock levels, which is also known as our reorder points. And then this column right here, I think is probably one of the best columns. It's going to give you more or less everything you need to know at a glance, is this calculated stock column. And what this does is it takes your in-stock number, minuses out your commitments, pluses in anything that's expected to come in, and then minuses out your safety stock slash reorder point number here. So this is going to get you that true level of what you're more or less at or what you're going to be at. And this will help influence those bulk actions that you can do on the sidebar here. So that's really helpful. All your integrations are going to be found again under the puzzle piece icon here. You can see we have QuickBooks, Shopify, BigCommerce, our Amazon FBA, HubSpot, a lot of different things in between. And then going again back to that stock screen, I just want to show that we had a negative inventory. I got a big red -1. Again, it's not
And
about
questions about it,
any
Logan.
questions
So
about my big red one. Well,
either
that's
negative stock or when you enter something at zero cost, so how to reset it. So I think what you're gonna demo now will cover both
This
cases.
is exactly, this is probably the fun stuff that everybody wants to get into is the negatives and the costing that's wrong. So as you can see here, I have this mystery pack item. I got a big red negative. If I click into this, it's again going to give me that history, the in and out movements of this item. So as you can see here, this tells my story. Why am I in a negative? I shipped out this item on a sales order and I actually didn't add it into stock. That means my COGS for the sales order is $0. My accountant probably would not be happy with that. So there's two ways I can fix this. Quick fix one, again, is if I just want to zero this out to get the negative away, then I do a quick stock adjustment, add in 1 unit, puts me back to 0, and then I keep moving on and adding my inventory as needed and sell as needed. But if I want to retroactively fix this so I was never in a negative to begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, open up another tab so I can keep both of these open and reference things. So I'm going to create a quick stock adjustment here. And I want to be mindful of the date on which this sales order was delivered. So it was today, 4:45, or it was yesterday, sorry, at 4:45 p.m. So I want to just keep in mind that date and time because this is where this comes into play. So I have my adjustment date here on my adjustment. I want to make sure that I'm adding in this quantity before that sales order was delivered. Now I can go right to the minute before, but as long as I just go to a time before, then we're all good here. So I have my adjustment date. Again, I want to make sure it was before that sales order was delivered. And this applies to all the different movements in Katana. It's maybe a manufacturing order was completed or anything like that. This is the same kind of flow for all these different kind of scenarios. So I want to be mindful of that date. Again, I just want to look at the item, this mystery pack here. And I'm going to add it into my inventory. Again, when I'm adding it into my inventory, I want to make sure I put a cost in it as well. So give it a cost of $10. And let's give this screen a little refresh. Oh, we can already see we went back to 0 here. And now we can see we have that movement history, right? My stock adjustment brought in 1 unit at $10. Before that sales order was delivered. I've basically manipulated time. Just kidding. But essentially, this is what we're doing is we want to be mindful of the time when I went into a negative, and we want to make sure we add that inventory before with the cost. And now you can see if we look at that sales order, it has the correct COGS that retroactively applied to that sales order. So this is essentially how you're going to find those negative instances or wrong costs. Essentially what you want to do is either the quick way, which is bringing your inventory to 0, then bringing it into the correct number with the correct cost, move forward. That's the quick way. The more tedious way, if you want to like retroactively fix things, is going to be going through these inventory intel panels, looking when you went into the negative, and then making sure you had inventory before you went into a negative with a cost. Yeah, so I hope all of this is helpful. The last thing I just want to show you before I let you all go into the question period is we have user permissions inside of Katana as well. So when I'm looking at my team here, and to be mindful, it's the owner of the organization that has control over these permissions. But when you click on a user as the owner of the company, you can choose which locations that they have access to. You can choose what kind of visibility they have access to, what kind of workflows they can touch and again have access to, and what kind of admin permissions. So if you want your staff to be able to add apps or use the API keys, webhooks, things like that, you can give them that permission, or you can ensure that they don't have access to those things. So again, it's just about making sure Katana's running optimally, and that's maybe adding in staff members and things like that. But when we're adding in AI automation staff, we just want to be mindful of the permissions that we give them and the actions that they're doing, and we want to make sure that we audit things periodically. One last thing for audits. When we're on the stock screen, you can look at your inventory history at any date and time by selecting the date picker here. So if you need to look at a month's end, for example, you can select that date picker, go back to the 31st, and then you can see your month's end inventory and give this a download. Your insights as well will have a lot of information within them that you can also download and access at any time as well. So hopefully this little demo was helpful, and happy to answer any questions.
All right, let's get things going. We have lots of questions coming in. Logan, I think you can take back the screen share and show some things in product as well. I tried to answer some of them. We had a question around e-commerce and tax rate. I sent some resources already for that question, but let us know if there's anything else. Then also questions around QuickBooks Online, like wanting to integrate with QBO. What are some tips and tricks? What to look out for? Then there's the issue around for one user that they use QBO and there is a disconnect between Katana and QBO in their system. So how they can fix this moving forward. And
Okay.
I think there was something else, but you can start with this too.
Yeah. Perfect. I am going to just go through the list. And like we mentioned, if we don't get to any of these answers, we'll make sure that you do get an answer in an email follow-up or anything in between. Please don't
Oh,
worry. We'll make sure you get
definitely.
back.
Mhm.
So first one, I'm just looking on the list here. we want to integrate QBO, wondering what some tips and tricks are, maybe some things to look out for. Really great question on there. I'm actually going to just share my screen and we can take a look at the QuickBooks integration together really quickly as well, because I think there's some information here that might be useful and helpful. So I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. If I can take that back from you. Awesome. All right, can everybody see the QuickBooks window? Yep. Cool. So when you connect QuickBooks to Katana, you get some flexibility into like the functionality that you want to use. So as you're thinking about connecting this integration, just keep in mind that Katana's not going to send anything over automatically in bulk or anything like that. The only thing we would ever send over automatically, like I mentioned, is if I turn off the sales revenue here and leave the COGS on. Then the COGS will automatically send over to QuickBooks through a journal entry every time the sales order is marked as delivered. If I have sales revenue toggled on, I need to create the invoice first. And then when I deliver that sales order, it's going to create the COGS entry for that order. There was also a question on for the COGS, which items get COGS. So COGS are going to be relative. Really, every item in Katana has a cost associated to it, but the COGS I'm talking about in this specific scenario are their cost of goods sold for your finished goods that are being sent over. So anything that's on a sales order, generally a finished good. Some people do sell sub-assemblies, but those are the costs that are going to get pushed over to QuickBooks. It's the ones that are on the sales order specifically. So we have a bunch of different toggles. Again, you can choose whether or not you even want to use the bill functionality. If I want to be able to send my stock adjustments over as journal entries, things like that, you have control. You can map to the specific accounts that you want. Now, when we're talking about tips and tricks, the biggest thing that I want to kind of stress with QuickBooks Online is that you can use your categories in Katana to map to relevant either income accounts or COGS expense accounts. So when we're mapping over here, this is just default accounts. But if you want to get more granular, you can use those categories in Katana to get more granular on this page. That's that's the one thing I kind of just want to stress. It'll make things a lot easier on your side. And the other thing too is if you have a really good customer and supplier list already in QuickBooks, you can import these into Katana just with a quick button click here. It uses the email address to match the name, so we're not creating duplicates. If it can't find the email, it'll look for the name. If it can't find either, then it'll create new ones in Katana. So hopefully that helps and answers your question. All right.
Thank you, Logan. And the other one for QBO was the disconnect between the systems as well. But I think
Disconnect.
that's something to look out for, maybe with a CSM. So if you're our active customer, either get in touch with your CSM, because I think kind of looking at the issue would help us give a better answer to you, or reach out via support.
Yeah, definitely. Book with your CSM, or if you have any like good examples of like in Katana, if you do reach out to the support team, they can help kind of look at some history in the account too. Like if you want to need help kind of pinpointing something, just make sure you have proper examples when you're chatting in as well. All right.
Thank you.
Able to have accessible reporting beyond a financial perspective, but the ability in the Insights tab regarding inventory units. Accessible financial reporting. I'm gonna have to answer that one, I think after offline on that one. Just want to make sure I'm understanding that question correctly. Forecasting product materials and ingredients for future production to make ordering easier and avoid negative stock. That's a really great question. In Katana, we do have a planning and forecasting feature, which I didn't specifically touch on, but we can take a quick look. And now I realize why I didn't touch on it. I just don't have any sales order history really in this account. So just to kind of explain this really quickly, Katana's planning and forecasting functionality, what it uses is it's going to take your current history in Katana And if I have activate forecast demand toggled off, it's going to take the exact history that's in my account as of today. When I turn the forecast demand on, it's going to make assumptions based off of the data I've had. Now, the forecasted demand, depending if you're looking on a weekly or monthly view, weekly uses a 6 month weekly consumption, and then monthly uses a 12-month consumption on there. And then based off of your movements in here, you get some replenishment suggestions. And if you're going to use the planning and forecasting add-on, really want to stress that you set up those safety stock levels, which are those reorder points. That's what really makes this planning and forecasting add-on kind of work or shine more or less, because what this is telling you is basically right before you're going to get below that safety stock level. And of course, from this screen, we can also do some bulk actions for buy, make, and outsource and things like that.
Thanks, Logan. There's a question around tracking shrink. If the current in-stock showing in Katana does not match a weekly stock take. Also, question that we do get.
Yeah. Like if your count in Katana is different than what's actually in your warehouse, then it's going to be a quick. I would trust what's in your warehouse because we want to make Katana as accurate as possible. So it'd just be a quick stock adjustment to match what's in your warehouse there.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Let me see. Good question. What does the outsource button do in Make?
Really great question. So the outsource button, what that does is it creates an outsource purchase order in Katana. And let's go take a little gander. So when you create an outsourced purchase order, essentially what it is, it's a hybrid between a purchase order and a manufacturing order. That's the way I kind of like to look at them. So you select your supplier that you're purchasing either a finished good or a sub-assembly from, and then you put in the line item that you're going to be purchasing from them. So you have two columns here, a ship to, so that's where the finished good or your sub-assembly is going to be sent to. And then you have a track ingredients from, and that's where all your materials for the bomb and that item that you're purchasing are going to be pulled from. Your price is going to be, so it's going to be your purchase price for the line item here. So this is going to be probably my labor cost or the service charge that they're charging me to do this. And then I have my recipe, my ingredients costs are also going to roll into this purchase price. So I get my true cost of goods sold. So essentially, outsourced purchase order is manufacturing order, purchase order mixed into one.
Thank you, Logan. Question around packing slips and invoices, scanning these into Katana. Is it possible to scan the copies?
Currently not possible in the native UI or anything like that. What you can do in Katana right now is use hyperlinks to link to documents somewhere, but I have seen some pretty creative solutions, using AI and Chrome extensions and Make and things like that to either get to make sure that link is visible or creates an image or something like that. So I guess quick answer is not out of the box, but I've seen some cool workarounds using the API and extensions and things like that.
Thank you. Then bundles. If a customer can mix and match a bundle online, so we have a user whose customers can mix these bundles, is there a way to enter those options into a bundle?
Good question. So when you create your items in Katana and you create the kit bundle item, then the BOM for the kit bundle, it does an auto assembly. So you don't really get that much control over your manufacturing order and the ingredients in the BOM because it's doing an automatic assembly in the background. If it's what I'd recommend for those kind of kits and bundles where the kit bundle might change almost all the time is there's some third-party apps, especially if you're using Shopify or something like that. I think it's Simple Bundles, something like that. Close. That's an app that basically creates your bundles in your store, and then when they go to Katana, they're split out into separate line items. So then they're all accounted for separately as a line item. So kit and bundle in Katana, I would say more if you have like not strict bill of materials, but it's the bill of materials always going to be the same. I'd say if it's always going to be ever changing kind of bundles, then it makes sense to go with those kind of third-party apps so that the line items always port in if they're going to be different.
Thank you, Logan. Then trying to answer some it at the same time. So what's the breakdown of the connection with Katana and ShipStation? It seems, and especially for batch tracking, it seems that they're pulling different batch numbers from each other. Is it a user error or is it a setting to change?
That's a really good question because right now we don't have a direct connection into ShipStation. The options are, through your sales channel, so Shopify or BigCommerce or something like that. That's connected to Katana, or you're using a third-party connector like Extensive. So it it de I can't give you a for sure answer because it depends on how you have the integration kind of set up. So what I would probably do is kind of I would simulate an order and kind of watch and see how that flows through. And maybe there's a disconnect either somewhere between like your sales channel and ShipStation or through a connector integration in ShipStation or something like that.
Thank you. What else do we see here? Ooh. Oh, where could I extract reports to get per product sales and COGS, both in units and currency? And if I can set the date range.
Yes, so if you go under your insights, sales, orders, which apologies, I don't have any completed orders, so I don't have some insights for them. Oh, actually I do. This is a very small list, but I will show you where to find it. So if I go into my insights, sales, orders, we have a bunch of filters on the left-hand side that you can use here where you can filter by SKU, item name, order number, customer, categories, everything in between. Have a couple different charts up here. Again, you can export these CSV, Excel, or PNG if needed. But I really like this report down at the bottom here. It gives you your sales order row details, and you can select which information you want to be included in this report. And it's going to give you your COGS, your profit margins, quantities, price per unit, SKUs, everything in between that lines that ends up on a sales order. And then again, you can take this into a CSV for an Excel or a PNG. And the same thing on the sell screen here. You can always like export all of your done orders as well, and they're going to include all your COGS, your profit margins, and total amounts with the line items, and it'll break it down. That's also another option too. And while we're actually showing something, I forgot about another cool bulk action that I just wanted to share really quickly before I forget. When you're under the make screen, there's also a task tab here. So when you add operations to Katana, you can assign them to specific operators or not, or keep them unassigned. But when you select under the task tab here, you do get bulk options in here as well. So this is really great if you're doing a lot of manufacturing. So I can change the status of a specific task in bulk if I want to. I can sort them by resources too. I can bulk assign a task to somebody. So if somebody's sick for that week, I can bulk assign it to somebody else, or I can bulk unassign as well. So I just wanted to share those two before I forgot. Sorry.
Awesome. Since we did cover the outsourced purchase orders a bit, can you give an example? Why would you use an OPO versus a PO?
Really great question. So when I would use an outsourced purchase order is when I want to track materials being consumed when I get something back. So essentially, I send my materials to maybe a contract manufacturer, or I'm getting a sub-assembly back where they're doing some sort of coding to something or a process to something. And basically, I want to use that outsourced purchase order. So when I receive that in, that raw piece of my inventory is now consumed. So I can go through that flow in detail with it. The other thing too is I would use an outsourced purchase order over a PO, again, to track material consumption. But also so I can tack on that kind of, so I can also track ingredients being used too, because say I have batch tracked items on an I have batch tracked components that go into something that's being made. I want to track those batches. And on a PO, if I'm just getting that finished good back or that sub-assembly back without the material tracking, then I might lose some of that traceability in Katana as well. So. And the one thing just to stress, if you want to use outsourced purchase orders, you have to have both make and buy enabled on the item. Again, if you need to do that in bulk, you can use those update templates to do that. And the other thing I want to stress with outsourced purchase orders, so they're similar to manufacturing orders, but we can't track operations on outsourced purchase orders because we have no way of time tracking those things. So when you're setting up products that are going to be on an outsourced purchase order, you don't need to include operations on them. The operational cost should be in your purchase price for those items.
Okay, think we have to wrap this up here. So we do have some unanswered questions, but as Logan mentioned before, we are going to get back to you on these. I tried to answer some quickly um, uh, in writing, so I hope I also managed to answer some of the questions. But thank you so much, Logan, for the demo part. I think we can kind of skip this part here. Just a few things to remember from this webinar, and we are going to send the slide deck as well, so you can go over these later on as well. Before we all leave to enjoy our Thursday nights, in my case, or in your case, afternoons, then just a real quick one for you. What's your next step after today? So if you can get a quick minute, then please let us know. But we both thank you for joining us today. We will be sending recording with some resources. You can expect the email tomorrow. Again, feel free to use our knowledge base. It really does have everything there. Every feature has pretty much its own article, and it is always kept up to date. So if you need to get in touch with us, then if you have a CSM, if you are on the standard plan or higher or the core plan, then you should be assigned one. If not, please just answer to the follow-up email or use the in-app chat. But the ones who noted already in the chat that they want us to get in touch, we will definitely make sure to. And when this webinar ends in a few seconds, then please, there will be a quick survey popping up to you. So all feedback is super welcome, so we can tailor the next sessions and make them even better. These live sessions are every month on the second Thursday, so definitely you can look out for an invitation soon. And at the same time, we have onboarding webinar series to help you get started, or if you already have been using Katana, then how to kind of take it forward. So I'll send a few details on the upcoming ones via the email as well. Any last words, Logan?
I just want to say thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and listening to me talk about Katana. I hope you get just as excited at this platform as I am, and I'm looking forward to maybe chatting with you in the in-app chat or seeing you around. And I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again.
Thank you all. Have a great day and bye.